My name is Leah, and I'm 28 years old. I've always been the one people turn to. Not because I'm perfect, but because I've always had this sense of responsibility, especially when it came to my younger sister, Emma. From the moment she was born, I knew my life would never be the same. I was 9 years old, and she was tiny, fragile. I remember holding her in my arms for the first time and promising myself I would always be there for her. Leah, can you help me with this? Emma's voice broke through my thoughts. I looked over at her sitting on the couch, her face lit up by the glow of her phone. I smiled softly, wiping my hands on the dish towel. What's up? She looked up, her eyes sparkling. I was thinking, maybe we should go on a trip together, just the two of us, like we used to when we were kids, I chuckled, wiping a dish clean. The thought of it brought back memories, our carefree days, laughing at nothing, living in our own little world. Sounds nice, but life isn't exactly as simple as it used to be. She waved me off, unfazed. We could make it happen. We deserve it, don't you think? Her words hung in the air for a moment, and I felt a pang in my chest. Maybe she was right. Maybe we did deserve it. But there was always something else. I'd love that, Em. But I trailed off, feeling the weight of my responsibilities, the rent, the bills, the endless stream of things that never seemed to stop. I'm not sure how that's going to work. She gave me that look, the one that told me she didn't quite understand how hard things were. Emma was always the dreamer, always full of ideas, while I was the one who had to make sure everything stayed afloat. She ignored my hesitation, already back to her phone. I just think we could use some time for ourselves, just like old times. I smiled again, but it was tinged with something else, something I couldn't quite place. I wanted to give her what she wanted. I always did. But I couldn't help the feeling that something was changing, that something was shifting under the surface, and it wasn't going to be easy to ignore anymore. Maybe, Em, I'll think about it. But deep down, I knew that it wasn't just a trip that was coming. The storm had already started to form, and it was only a matter of time before it hit. I was sitting at the kitchen table when Emma burst in, grinning like she had just won a lottery. The way she looked at me, her excitement so raw, I couldn't help but smile. She was always the optimist, the one who believed everything would fall into place no matter the cost. Leah, you won't believe it. She dropped her bag on the chair and practically skipped over to me. I raised an eyebrow. What's going on? Her eyes were sparkling. I'm getting married. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't even heard her mention a serious relationship before, but there she was, practically vibrating with excitement. Wait, what? I asked, unsure if I had heard her right. You're getting married? She nodded enthusiastically, her smile so wide it seemed possible. Yes, Jordan asked me last night. We're going to have a big wedding, Leah. It's going to be perfect, just like we've always talked about. I swallowed, trying to keep my emotions in check. That's great, Em. I'm happy for you. She didn't catch the hesitation in my voice, as usual. You're the first person I told. I want you to be there for everything. She paused, her eyes growing more serious. Actually, I was hoping. I need your help with the wedding. You know how tight things are with money. Could you help us out? My stomach tightened. I had always helped her, whether it was paying for books, covering medical bills, or bailing her out when things got tough. But this? A lavish wedding I hadn't even been told about until now? I'm not sure, Em. I've got a lot going on too, I said, my voice wavering. How much are we talking about? She waved her hand, brushing off my concern. Don't worry about it. It's just a little extra help. Jordan and I have a lot of ideas, but we could use some financial backing to make it all happen. It's going to be perfect, you'll see. I stared at her, the smile on her face so full of life, and felt this strange unease in my gut. Jordan. I hadn't met him more than a few times, but something about him rubbed me the wrong way. He was charming, sure. A little too charming. The way he looked at Emma, like she was his prize to be claimed, there was something off about it. "I'm happy for you, I am," I said, but the words felt hollow, like I was trying to convince myself more than her. "But I don't know about the wedding, Em. That's a lot." She leaned forward, her expression softening. "Please, Leah. You've always been there for me. I'm asking you as my sister, my best friend." The pressure was building in my chest, and I hated it. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her that I couldn't keep bailing her out, that she had to figure things out on her own. But Emma, she always had a way of making me feel like I owed her everything. "I'll think about it," I said finally, my voice tight. But deep down, I knew the answer. I knew I'd say yes, just like I always did. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I questioned whether I was enabling her, whether this whirlwind wedding, so full of promise and excitement, was setting her up for something I couldn't fix. "Thank you, Leah," Emma said, wrapping her arms around me in a hug. "I knew you'd come through." As she pulled away, I forced a smile, but the unease remained. Something wasn't right, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this wedding, this love, was going to cost me more than just money. It's the day of Emma's wedding, and I'm standing here, my feet aching, my heart pounding, watching her walk down the aisle. She looks stunning, radiant, like she's in a fairy tale. Her dress is everything she ever dreamed of. I can't help but feel a knot in my stomach as I watch her take each step toward Jordan. I should be happy for her. I know I should. But the weight of the last few months is heavy on my chest. The countless hours I've spent making sure this day could happen. The money I've poured into it. The promises I've kept. All for her. When Emma catches my eye, she gives me a grin, her face glowing with excitement. I smile back, but it's tight, forced. I can't help it. The ceremony goes by in a blur. The vows, the promises, the rings. All of it feels so beautiful, so perfect. But it also feels distant, like I'm watching someone else's story. "Leah, you look so good today," Emma whispers as she walks past me after the ceremony, her voice full of excitement. "Thanks, Em," I say, my smile barely there. She doesn't notice. Of course, she doesn't. She's too wrapped up in the whirlwind of her own happiness. We take pictures. The reception drags on, and the evening wears on into a blur of chatter, laughter, and clinking glasses. But as the night goes on, all I can think about is the quiet rage building inside me. The money, my money, spent on this event, on this dream that she built with Jordan. The debt. The reality of how much I've given up for her happiness. The night winds down and Emma pulls me aside. "Hey, Leah. Can I talk to you for a second?" she says, her voice low, almost secretive. I nod, following her to a quieter corner. "I was thinking," she starts, looking away, "that maybe you could help us with the honeymoon. Jordan and I have been looking at some places, but it's a little more than we expected. You know, I really want it to be special." I stare at her, my heart sinking further with each word. "You've already spent so much," I say, my voice strained. "I've done everything I can for this wedding, Em." She shrugs as though it's no big deal. I know. But we really want to go somewhere nice, and I don't know how we'll make it work without your help." My stomach twists. The weight of the situation presses down on me like a heavy blanket. She doesn't even realize how much I've sacrificed for her already. The money, the time, the stress. All of it feels like it's been forgotten in the whirlwind of her dream wedding. "I can't keep doing this, Emma," I say, my voice breaking. She looks up at me, confused. "What do you mean? I thought we were in this together. You're my sister, please." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. This was never supposed to feel like this. I can't do it anymore, Em. I've given you everything, but this isn't fair. She looks taken aback, but then her face softens. I didn't mean to hurt you, Leah. You're my best friend. I swallow hard, trying to hold back the tears that threaten to spill over. I know, but I can't keep saying, yes, not when it's all on me. Emma stands there for a moment, her eyes wide with shock, before she steps closer and hugs me tightly. I stand there, frozen, but I can't shake the feeling that everything has changed, that I've crossed a line I can't come back from. Thank you, Leah, she whispers. But I can't help but feel that there's nothing to thank me for anymore. I walk away from her embrace, my chest tight. I was supposed to be happy for her today, but all I feel is the bitter sting of resentment. I've given too much, and somewhere deep down, I know I'll never get it back. I stood in the kitchen, staring at my phone, the balance sheet of my bank account glaring at me. My heart was racing. My palms were sweating. I had seen the charges, so many of them, each, one tied to Emma and Jordan. The wedding was one thing, but these were different. Designer clothes, expensive gadgets, luxury items that no one in their right mind would buy on a whim, and they were all under my name. My money. Leah, you good? Emma's voice snapped me out of my spiral. I turned around to face her, my chest tight with a mix of disbelief and something darker. What's all this, Emma? I waved the phone in front of her, the list of transactions flashing on the screen. She froze, her eyes darting around, then quickly looked away. What do you mean? Just some stuff I needed for the house. You know, for Jordan and me. I felt my breath hitch. Stuff you needed? You used my money for this? This isn't just the wedding, Emma. This is everything. She bit her lip, her face flushing. I didn't think you'd mind. You've always helped me. I didn't want to ask you again, but things were tight. Tight? I took a step forward, trying to steady my shaking hands. You've spent thousands of dollars, Em. Thousands. And you think it's just stuff you needed? Are you kidding me? Her eyes widened and she took a step back. Leah, calm down. It's not like that. I didn't mean for it to get this far. No, you didn't mean for it to get this far, but you did. And now I'm left holding the bag for it all. My voice was rising, but I couldn't stop it. How many times have I bailed you out? How many times have I paid for things I can't afford, just because you couldn't be bothered? She looked guilty for a second, but quickly brushed it off. I didn't ask for this. You offered. You've always offered, Leah. You've always been there for me, and now, when I need help. Help? Help? I cut her off, my chest tight. This isn't help, Emma. This is you taking advantage of me. I've worked my ass off to make sure you've had everything you wanted, and you've turned me into your personal bank. She took a deep breath, her voice shaking. You know I didn't mean it like that. I didn't realize the burden I was putting on you. The words hit me like a punch in the gut. No, Emma, you never realized. You never cared. I've been carrying you, carrying us, while you've been living in this fantasy world where you can have whatever you want, and I'll just pick up the pieces. Her expression softened, but it didn't make me feel any better. I didn't mean to hurt you, Leah. I really didn't. But I guess I've always seen you as my safety net. I never thought about how much it was costing you. I'm sorry. Sorry. The word hung in the air, empty and meaningless. I swallowed hard, trying to force the tears back. You should have thought about it, Em. Because now I don't know if I can ever trust you again. She stepped forward, her hands reaching out for me. Leah, please. I'm sorry. Please don't be mad. I took a step back, shaking. My head I'm not mad, Emma. I'm devastated. You've used me, and I let you. I let it happen, and now I'm paying for it. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen, staring at me. I turned away, my hands trembling at my sides. The truth was too much to bear. I had been living in denial, convincing myself that I was helping her because I loved her. But now, all I felt was the cold sting of betrayal. I don't know if I can keep doing this, Emma, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I don't know if I can keep being the one who sacrifices everything for you. She said nothing. And for the first time, I realized I had nothing left to give. I couldn't stop thinking about what Emma had said. I never realized the burden I was putting on you. Those words kept echoing in my head, over and over again. But the truth was, I had realized. I had seen the signs, felt the weight of it all. But I had ignored it. I'd let it slide because she was my sister, because I loved her. And now? Now I was left with the aftermath, the guilt, the anger, an emotional wreck. I walked into the living room, my mind still reeling. My parents were sitting there talking about something trivial, but the moment I stepped in, they went quiet. They could tell something was off. "Leah, what's wrong?" my mom asked, her eyes soft with concern. I forced a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Nothing, just tired, I guess." "You sure? You don't seem okay." My dad looked at me with his usual calm demeanor, but I could see the worry in his eyes. I nodded, but inside I was screaming. I wasn't okay. I hadn't been okay for months. "You've been so quiet lately," my mom continued. "Is everything all right with Emma?" I flinched at her name and it hit me like a punch to the gut. "Everything's fine," I said quickly, though I knew the lie was obvious. But they didn't push. Instead, they looked at each other, and I could tell they were exchanging glances. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know the truth. They didn't know that I had been carrying the weight of Emma's reckless behavior for far too long. I went into the kitchen and slammed the cupboard door. The frustration was building up inside me, the anger and the hurt mixing together until it felt like I couldn't breathe. Why had I allowed this to happen? Why had I let her use me like that? The guilt gnawed at me. Maybe I should have said something sooner. Maybe I should have seen it coming. But I hadn't. I was too blinded by my own need to please her, to protect her. And now, it felt like I was the one who was left broken. The door opened behind me, and I turned to see my mom standing there, her face full of concern. "Leah, talk to us. What's really going on?" I shook my head, taking a deep breath. "I just don't know anymore, Mom. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep being the one who fixes everything for everyone else." She stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Sweetheart, you don't have to fix everything. It's okay to say no." I said no. I tried to. I could feel the tears welling up, and I hated myself for it. But she just doesn't get it, Mom. I've given her everything, and she's still asking for more. And now I feel like I've lost everything, and for what? I paused, my heart aching with every word. I feel like I've been used, like I'm just someone to lean on when it's convenient, and now I'm the one paying the price. My mom hugged me then, tight, like she could somehow take away the pain. But it didn't make it go away. I pulled away, wiping my eyes. "I don't know how to move past this, Mom. I don't know if I can forgive her, or if I even should." She didn't answer right away, and I could see the sadness in her eyes. I had always been the strong one, the one who held it together. But now I was falling apart. "I don't know either, sweetie," she said quietly. "But you need to figure out what's best for you. And you need to stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders." I nodded, but inside I felt lost. How had I gotten to this point? And more importantly, How could I find my way back? I sat at the kitchen table, my hands shaking as I stared at the phone in front of me. The thought of telling Mom and Dad what Emma had done, showing them the credit card statements, the reckless spending, everything, was enough to make my stomach twist. But was it the right thing to do? Would exposing her for what she was really doing make me feel better, or would it just tear my family apart? The thought of confronting Emma directly had crossed my mind more times than I could count. But part of me hesitated. I was so angry, so betrayed, that it felt like any action I took now would only fuel the fire. She had taken advantage of me, of my love, and all I had left was this swirling pit of rage and confusion. Leah? I heard my mom's voice from the hallway, pulling me out of my thoughts. I forced a smile as she walked into the room, sitting across from me. Hey, Mom! She gave me a curious look, her eyes narrowing with concern. You've been quiet lately. What's going on? I didn't answer immediately. The truth felt like a weight that would crush us both. But I couldn't keep pretending. Everything was fine. I don't know, Mom. I ran my hands through my hair, trying to think straight. I don't know how to fix this. What do you mean? She asked, leaning in, her voice gentle but insistent. I met her gaze, my heart hammering. I found out some things about Emma, some things she did, with my money. Mom's face softened, but her eyes flickered with uncertainty. What kind of things, Leah? I didn't answer right away. I didn't know if I could. I could feel the anger bubbling up, the betrayal threatening to boil over. Part of me wanted to shout it all out, expose Emma for the selfish, manipulative person she had become. But another part of me wanted to walk away, to leave it all behind and pretend it never happened. She's been using my money, Mom, I finally said, my voice quiet but firm. Not just for the wedding, she's been using it for everything. Things she didn't need, things that aren't hers to take. Mom sat back, her face paling slightly. What do you mean, Leah? I clenched my fists, trying to control the shaking in my hands. I mean, she's been living this fantasy, expecting me to pay for it all. And I've let her. I've given her everything, and I'm left with nothing. My mom reached out, placing a hand on mine. I didn't know. I'm sorry. The sympathy in her voice didn't help. It only made the anger burn brighter. I don't know what to do, I said, looking at her. Do I tell Dad? Do I expose her for what she's done? Mom's expression faltered, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. Leah, it's not that simple. Family isn't always black and white, but you have to decide what's best for you. You can't carry this burden alone. I nodded, my thoughts racing. I felt trapped between my love for Emma and the overwhelming need for justice. Should I let her get away with it? Should I hold her accountable for what she'd done? Would it make me feel better? Or would it just drive a wedge between us all? Don't know if I can forgive her, I admitted, my voice cracking. But I don't know if I can live with the weight of this either. Mom stayed silent for a moment, and then she spoke quietly. Only you can decide, Leah. But you deserve to feel at peace with whatever choice you make. I stared at my hands, trying to find some clarity. But all I felt was exhaustion. I was drowning in a sea of my own thoughts, each one pulling me deeper into a conflict I didn't know how to escape. The decision was mine, but that didn't make it any easier. I decided not to tell Mom and Dad. I couldn't bring myself to do it. It wasn't that I forgave Emma. It was more like I couldn't carry the weight of her betrayal any longer. The anger was exhausting, and I was tired of holding on to it. I realized something. If I kept clinging to my anger, I'd be letting her control me forever. So I let it go. But that didn't mean I was letting her off the hook. I started pulling back. Slowly at first. I stopped answering her calls as quickly, stopped agreeing to every little request. She noticed, of course. Leah, what's going on? Emma's voice crackled through the phone one evening. Why are you so distant lately? I bit my lip. The truth was, I didn't owe her an explanation, but somehow I always ended up giving her one. I'm just focusing on myself right now, I said, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. I don't get it. You've been so quiet. Are you mad at me? I hesitated. The old me, the one who always took care of everything, wanted to say, no, I'm not mad, I just want to help you. But that wasn't the truth anymore. No, I'm not mad, Em. Just, I need some space. She went quiet, and I knew she didn't understand. But that was her problem, not mine. Over the next few weeks, I watched as Emma's life slowly began to unravel. Jordan became distant, snapping at her over the smallest things. Their financial issues started popping up too. Bills piling up, calls from creditors. It wasn't immediate, but the cracks in their relationship were widening. The illusion of perfection she'd built was crumbling. I felt a strange sense of relief watching it all unfold, not because I wanted to see her suffer, but because it was proof that karma was already doing its work. Emma had lived so long in this bubble thinking, I would always be there to pick up the pieces. But now? Now she was facing the consequences of her actions. Leah. Emma's voice broke into my thoughts one day, her tone much quieter than usual. I don't know what to do anymore. Everything's falling apart. I sighed, rubbing my forehead. The old Leah would have rushed in to fix it, to make everything right. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. I'm sorry, Em, but you're going to have to figure it out. I can't do this for you anymore. Her silence was thick with disbelief. You're really just going to let me drown? I'm not letting you drown. I'm just not saving you anymore, I replied, my voice firm. The line went dead. It felt like a weight lifted off me. I didn't want to be cruel. I didn't want her to suffer. But I also couldn't be the person who always cleaned up her messes. I had to learn to let go, and slowly, I started to focus on myself. I took walks by the lake, started going to therapy, and finally gave myself the time I'd been neglecting for years. I started cooking for myself again, taking care of my own needs. I learned to say no without guilt. It wasn't easy, but I was doing it. I was rebuilding, not for anyone else, but for me. Emma's life continued to spiral, but I no longer felt responsible for it. I realized, finally, that my healing had nothing to do with her. I had to move on, not because she deserved it, but because I did. As for Emma, well, karma had its way, and I didn't need to force anything anymore. Letting go was the best decision I'd ever made, and somehow, I was starting to feel whole again. I stood outside Emma's apartment, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what I expected from this confrontation, but I was done with the half-truths, the silent resentment, the endless running in circles. I had spent too much of my life bending for her, and I was done. When Emma opened the door, she looked surprised to see me, but then her expression softened. Leah? What are you doing here? I stepped past her, not waiting for permission. Was done asking. I need to talk to you. I didn't even know where to start. My throat felt tight, but I wasn't going to let it choke me now. About everything. She closed the door behind me, then turned to face me. I know you're angry, and I'm sorry. I really am. But I don't know what you want me to say. I laughed, though it felt bitter in my throat. You're sorry? That's all you've got? Emma's face faltered, and for a moment I almost felt guilty. Almost. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant for you to be stuck with all that weight. Her voice cracked, and she stepped closer to me, her eyes pleading. I didn't think about what I was doing to you. I thought you'd always be there to help me. I felt the anger rush through me, hot and sharp. That's the problem, Emma. You never thought. You just took, and I gave. And all the while you were draining me dry. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep being the person who fixes everything for you. I've lost myself doing that. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back. Leah, please, I never wanted to hurt you. I was selfish, and I know that now. But I need you. I need you in my life. I shook my head, a knot forming in my chest. You don't get it. You don't need me. You need to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. I can't carry you anymore. Her face crumpled, her tears falling freely now. Please, Leah, don't shut me out. I love you. I need you. I felt something stir inside me, something I couldn't name. Love? Guilt? Maybe both. But it wasn't enough to make me stay. Not anymore. I can't keep doing this for you. And I can't keep doing this to myself either. Her voice shook. As she spoke, Are you really going to walk away from me? After everything? I looked at her, really looked at her. And I saw the girl I used to protect, the girl I had always loved. But that wasn't enough anymore. I wasn't that person. And I wasn't going to keep being that person for her. I've been walking away for years, Em, I said quietly. It's time I finally left. For good. I turned and walked to the door. I felt her eyes on me, but I didn't turn back. Leah, wait. But I didn't. I walked out of her life for good. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt free. The weight that had been crushing me for so long was finally gone. I wasn't walking away from my sister. I was walking toward my own life. And that was the only thing that mattered. It's been months since I walked out of Emma's life. And for the first time in a long time, I can breathe. The weight that used to suffocate me is gone. I'm not tied to her mistakes anymore. I'm not the person who has to carry everyone else's burdens. I can't even remember the last time I felt this light. I've learned to say no, to put myself first. And honestly, it feels good. The other day, I was sitting in the park, just watching the sunset. I didn't have anywhere to be, no one depending on me for anything. It was just me, my thoughts, and the quiet. I felt peace. Real peace. My phone buzzed, pulling me out of my moment of stillness. I glanced at the screen. It was Emma. Part of me still tensed at the thought of her, but I didn't pick up. I didn't have to. A year ago, I would have answered immediately. I would have listened to her excuses, to her pleas. I would have let her drag me back into the chaos. But not anymore. I'd learned something that took me too long to understand. I wasn't responsible for her happiness. I wasn't responsible for carrying the weight of my family's problems on my shoulders. I closed my eyes and leaned back on the grass. I felt the breeze against my face, the soft rustle of leaves above me. The world felt bigger now, full of possibility, of things I could do for myself. Leah? I opened my eyes, startled. It was my mom, standing in front of me with a smile. Mom, I said, sitting up and brushing off the dirt. She sat beside me, her smile warm. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm finally figuring things out. She didn't press for details, just reached over to squeeze my hand. I'm proud of you, you know that? I'm proud of me, too, I said. The words surprising even me. I hadn't realized it before, but it was true. I'd spent so long defining myself through others, through what they needed from me, that I forgot what it felt like to just be me. I used to think I was a failure, I admitted, staring out at the horizon, like I could never do enough. But now I see it differently. She tilted her head, waiting. I used to think love meant giving everything up. sacrificing yourself for others, even when it drained you. But I've learned that love is also about caring for yourself. It's about knowing when to walk away. My mom nodded, her eyes full of understanding. You've come a long way, Leah. I can see it in your eyes. I smiled. I feel different, in a good way. For the first time in so long, I didn't feel the need to explain myself or apologize for putting myself first. I wasn't burdened by guilt or anger. The truth was, I didn't need Emma or anyone else to define me. I was enough, just as I was. And that's when it hit me. I had spent my whole life thinking I needed to fix things for everyone around me. But what I really needed was to fix myself. I needed to reclaim my own power, my own identity. The journey wasn't over. I knew there would be more challenges ahead. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was moving forward, not because of anyone else, but because of me. And that felt like freedom. Thanks, Mom, I said, squeezing her hand. For what? She asked, surprised. For believing in me. I stood up, brushing off my pants. I'm ready for whatever comes next. And for the first time in my life, I knew I was ready to face it. On my terms. I stood at the window, looking out at the city. The sun was setting, casting a soft golden light over everything. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. I had been so caught up in everyone else's needs, their demands, that I'd forgotten what it felt like to live, for myself. But now, things were different. My phone buzzed beside me. Emma. I stared at her name for a moment, unsure whether to pick up. But then I remembered something. Something I'd been telling myself over the past few months. I didn't need to answer to her anymore. I let the phone buzz on, the sound fading into the background. I was learning how to let go. Leah? My mom's voice broke into my thoughts. She was standing in the doorway, her smile warm but curious. You all right? I turned to face her, a smile tugging at my lips. Yeah, I think I'm finally good. She raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. Finally good? I laughed softly, walking over to sit on the couch. Yeah, Mom. I've been so wrapped up in other people's problems for so long that I didn't realize I was losing myself. But I'm done with that. Her eyes softened as she sat beside me. I'm glad to hear you say that. I think I'm done letting other people's mistakes define me, I continued. I spent so much time trying to fix things for Emma and everyone else, but I forgot about myself in the process. I can't keep doing that. You've always been so strong for everyone else, she said, her voice quiet. But now, you're doing something for you, I nodded. Yeah, and it feels good. It's scary, but it feels right. I don't have to be responsible for everyone else anymore. I'm learning to put myself first. She smiled, a little proud, but there was a quiet sadness in her eyes. You've always had that weight on you, haven't you? I looked down, at my hands, the weight of it all sinking in. I didn't realize how heavy it was until I started letting go. And you know what? It's not even about forgiveness anymore. It's about moving on. About living for myself. I'm proud of you, Leah, she said softly. I'm proud of me too, I replied, my voice steady. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. I had let go of the anger, the guilt, the need to fix everything for everyone. And in doing so, I had found a new version of myself, one that wasn't defined by the mistakes of others, but by my own choices. I stood up, looking out the window again. There was something freeing about it, this new chapter I was starting. The past wasn't behind me, not entirely, but it no longer controlled me. Mom, I said, turning back to her. I think I'm ready for whatever comes next. She looked at me, a small but knowing smile on her face. I think you are too. I Wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to find out.